I remember the exact moment everything changed. It was a rainy Tuesday, the kind of rain that makes the city smell like wet asphalt. I had been up late, scrolling through emails while pretending to sleep beside him. We had been married 8 years. And in that time I had learned the rhythm of his breathing and the tiny habits he thought I didn't notice. He checked his watch twice before answering sometimes, and he always moved a receipt from his wallet into his coat pocket. The subject line that morning was simple: wire confirmation. At first I thought it was a bank notification, but the sender was an address I didn't recognize. Curiosity pulled me in. The message showed a transfer, $10,000, sent 2 days earlier. The memo line read, "Settlement confidential." My hands went cold. I knew our finances. I knew what expenses were normal. This wasn't normal. I waited until morning to ask him about it. He fumbled and blamed a work contractor, his voice too steady. His explanation was the kind of practiced memory people develop when they've lied enough times. Small details, consistent tone, a script. But I had the email. I had the date and the amount. Something inside me switched from confusion to determination. I decided I would not let him wrap this in more lies. For weeks I watched him with the patience of someone collecting evidence. I kept a quiet folder of notes on my phone and checked our joint accounts late at night after he fell asleep. I found small transactions at first: dinners at a restaurant I had never heard of, a hotel booking for a weekend he claimed was business, a membership fee to a private club. Each discovery was a small cut, and together they added up to a wound I could no longer ignore. When I finally confronted him with a printed sheet of transfers and reservations, he laughed like a man trying to hide from a storm by pretending it is sunny. "You're being ridiculous," he said. "You always jump to conclusions." I watched his smile and counted the tiny flickers at the corners of his eyes. He thought my silence would be my weapon, that I would crumble in private and pretend nothing happened in public. He thought I would stay quiet. I did not stay quiet. I had other plans. My first move was practical. I moved some money. Not all of it, just enough to ensure we had a base. I transferred it into an account I had opened years ago under my maiden name, something I had kept for emergencies, an unspoken lifeline. The small transaction felt like a secret handshake between me and the life I might be reclaiming. It was not revenge, it was preparation. Next I reached out to an old friend who was a lawyer. I asked hypotheticals at first: what happens when a spouse hides assets? What disclosures are required? And listened as the legal language made the situation sharper and clearer. The lawyer's answers were precise and dry. Procedures, paperwork, timelines. Hearing them made the reality less foggy. It turned suspicion into a map with directions. I began to gather documents. I photocopied bank statements, saved email headers, took screenshots of messages. I photographed receipts I found tucked in his briefcase when he left it unlocked. Each piece of evidence felt obscene and necessary at the same time, like taking inventory of a life I had shared but never truly known. The act of collecting gave me a steadying purpose. People around me noticed a change. My sister asked if I was okay. My mother called more often. I smiled and deflected. Telling half-truths felt dangerous. I needed the facts before I spoke. If I accused him without proof, he could spin the story and turn the sympathy away from me. I wanted the truth to speak loud, undeniable. Then one afternoon he came home carrying a small, unassuming box. He said it was a surprise. I opened it because that was what I did: open gifts, smile, be grateful. Inside was a set of keys and a stack of receipts, and on top a card with a name I recognized from the transfers. The card read, M. Alvarez, private account. For a moment I stared at the paper like it was a foreign object. I smiled anyway. That thin, terrible smile belonged to someone watching a scene she already knew the ending to. I thanked him and set the box aside. That night I sat at the kitchen table with a flashlight and the receipts, piecing together dates and amounts until the pattern was undeniable. The receipts matched transfers I had seen. The weekends he'd said were dinners and trips with a name that was not mine. I slept poorly, if at all. My mind was a tangle of what-ifs and if-onlys. How long had this been going on? Was this why our conversations had thinned? Why his eyes held a distance I'd once mistaken for boredom? The betrayal was raw and private, but beneath the hurt, a different feeling emerged: clarity. Betrayal narrows choices. Act or be consumed. By morning I had decided I would not be consumed. I scheduled a meeting with the lawyer and filled a small folder with photocopies and notes. The practical tasks were a refuge. They gave me control. When I left the house, I walked with the quiet steadiness of someone who had chosen a path. I had other plans and they were only beginning. I decided my next move would be public and precise. I would assemble everything, present it to the lawyer, and ask about protective orders, disclosure, and how to secure my children's future. I made a list. Freeze accounts, document behavior, find witnesses, and prepare for the conversation that would end the marriage. The list calmed me. Every item was a step away from chaos and toward a future I controlled. I felt strangely powerful and terrified. I spent the following week moving through my daily life as if nothing had changed. On the outside, I went to work, answered emails, and picked up groceries. Inside, every minute was a calculation. I kept my phone locked and carried a slim notebook in my bag where I recorded times, dates, and details. Tiny breadcrumbs of a trail only I could see. Every night, after he drifted into his heavy sleep, I sat in the dim light of my office and sorted the evidence. Bank statements lined one side of the desk, printouts of text messages on the other. The glow of the computer screen reflected off the photographs I had taken of hotel receipts and restaurant bills. It was all there, a pattern of quiet deceit stretching back months. The lawyer, my quiet ally, guided me carefully. "Document everything," she said. "Stay calm. Don't reveal what you know until you're ready to act." Her voice was steady, clinical, almost soothing. She explained how hidden assets could be traced, how the court would require disclosure, how early preparation would keep me protected. I left each meeting with a plan and a strange new confidence, like armor forming around a wound. At dinner, he started talking about a new project that would require more travel. I stirred my soup and smiled as if the words were background noise. He believed he was still ahead of me, that I was the trusting wife he could outmaneuver. But while he spoke, I mentally ticked another box on my list: monitor upcoming trips. The hardest part was acting normal. Friends invited us to a weekend barbecue, and I went along laughing when someone told a joke, nodding as neighbors discussed summer plans. I felt like a person in disguise, my real thoughts sealed behind polite smiles. No one suspected that beneath the pleasant small talk, I was building a case that could dismantle our life together. One night, while he showered, I found an unlocked email on his tablet. It was a message to the same mysterious M. Alvarez, arranging another getaway. He used phrases that once belonged to us, inside jokes, affectionate nicknames. For a moment I felt an ache so sharp it was almost physical. Then I took a screenshot, attached it to my growing folder, and let the ache harden into resolve. I began making small logistical moves. I updated the password on my personal savings account and rerouted my paycheck to it. I met discreetly with a financial advisor, a friend of my sister's, who helped me understand joint assets and potential liabilities. We discussed mortgages, retirement accounts, and how to protect my share before any confrontation. Each step was quiet and deliberate, a thread woven into a larger strategy. Meanwhile, he became more careless. He stayed out late without offering explanations. He left his phone face up on the counter, as if daring me to look. Sometimes he returned home smelling faintly of a perfume I didn't wear. Each slip only strengthened my certainty. One evening he mentioned a business dinner, scheduled for the following Friday. I nodded and asked polite questions while noting the time. After he left for work the next morning, I called the lawyer to confirm the date for a preliminary filing. We set it for the Monday after his supposed trip. By then, she explained, we would have enough to secure an immediate financial freeze and ensure full disclosure of hidden accounts. I also made a quiet visit to a counselor. I told her in measured tones that my marriage was ending and that I needed guidance for the emotional fallout. She listened without judgment, offering breathing exercises and small rituals to keep me grounded. For the first time in months, I felt a tiny flicker of peace. The Friday of his business dinner, I followed from a distance. I wore neutral clothes, my hair tucked under a cap, a friend driving so my car wouldn't be recognized. We watched as he pulled into a small boutique hotel on the other side of town. A woman stepped out of a red sedan and hurried to his car. They embraced like people who believed they were unseen. I took photographs, timestamped clear. My hands were steady, The hurt that once felt like fire now settled into something colder and sharper. I wasn't doing this for revenge alone. I was doing it to protect my future, to stand on solid ground when I finally spoke the truth aloud. When he came home that night, he carried the faint scent of wine and someone else's perfume. He smiled and kissed my cheek, thanking me for understanding his long day. I returned the smile, a quiet, practiced gesture that hid everything. Inside, the plan was nearly complete. That weekend, while he lounged in front of the television, I finalized the paperwork. The lawyer and I reviewed every page. By Monday morning, she would file for divorce with full documentation of hidden funds, infidelity, and financial misconduct. Protective orders would secure the joint accounts. I would be ready. As I watched him on the couch, laughing at a show we used to enjoy together, I felt an unexpected calm. The fear and doubt that once gripped me had transformed into resolve. He still believed I would stay silent, that I would play the role of the uninformed spouse. But the truth was no longer his to hide. I placed the thick folder of evidence into my briefcase and zipped it closed. In 2 days, the quiet storm I had been building would break, and he would finally understand that I had other plans. The next morning, I woke to the smell of rain on the patio and the faint buzz of my phone. It was a message from Amanda, my attorney friend. Met a contact at the county clerk's office. You were right, he filed something shady last month. Call me. My stomach flipped. I padded to the kitchen, poured coffee with trembling hands and hit call. Good morning, warrior, Amanda said. I pulled the file. 2 weeks before you moved out, Eric transferred the deed of the lake house to a shell LLC. No mortgage on it, by the way. He listed the business address as a P.O. box. Classic hide the assets move. I gripped the counter. The lake house. My grandparents had helped with the down payment, and Eric knew it meant the world to me. What does that mean for the divorce? I asked. It means he's hoping you won't notice, she replied. But if we can prove intent to conceal, a judge can award you a bigger share or even sanction him. A bitter laugh escaped me. Of course he would try this. Amanda's tone softened. Gather every scrap of proof you can, emails, texts, bank statements. We'll box him in. That afternoon I began my paper trail. Years of statements sat in neat folders in the hall closet. As I flipped through them, memories came uninvited. Our first summer at the lake house, Eric teaching our daughter Lily to fish, me believing the dream would last forever. Now those moments felt like evidence in a trial. I snapped photos of key pages, labeling each file. By nightfall, I had a digital vault that could make a forensic accountant proud. 2 days later, I arranged to meet Amanda at her office. I brought a flash drive and a tight knot in my chest. When I arrived, she greeted me with strong coffee and an approving nod. You weren't kidding, she said, scrolling through the files. This is solid. We'll serve discovery requests next week. He'll have to explain every transfer. Her confidence steadied me, but a darker thought lingered. If he's willing to hide property, what else is he hiding? That question gnawed at me during sleepless nights. I replayed little inconsistencies, late nights at the office, unexplained charges on joint cards, the way he changed passwords after arguments. One evening, while reviewing statements, a payment caught my eye. Monthly transfers to a clinic across town. Curiosity spiked. I called the clinic the next morning, posing as Eric's billing contact. A polite receptionist confirmed regular appointments in his name, specialty, endocrinology. Endocrinology? Eric had no known condition. My pulse quickened. Was he sick and hiding it? But when I searched the clinic online, another possibility surfaced. They offered gender-affirming hormone therapy. I sat back, stunned. That night I couldn't concentrate on dinner with Lily. My mind looped through scenarios. Was Eric living a double life? Did this explain the secrecy? I reminded myself that whatever truth emerged, it didn't excuse deception or financial fraud. Still, the revelation demanded empathy. I called Amanda the next morning. There's something personal, I began, explaining what I'd found. She listened carefully. It might be irrelevant legally unless it ties to finances, she said. But it explains his behavior. Either way, stay focused on the property concealment. Don't confront him yet. Her advice was sound, but the emotional weight was heavier than I expected. The deposition was scheduled for the following week. When Eric walked into the conference room, Crisp in a navy suit, he barely looked at me. His attorney offered a thin smile. Amanda returned a sharper one. Under oath, Eric fidgeted as Amanda presented the deed transfer. He stammered something about asset protection, claiming it was routine business. Amanda slid forward a printout of the LLC's non-existent operations. "Routine for what business, Mr. Lang?" she asked. Silence. After the deposition, Eric cornered me in the hallway. "You think you're clever?" he hissed. "Dragging me through this circus?" I met his glare. "I'm protecting what's ours. You made your choices." His jaw tightened. For a moment I thought he might say more, but he spun on his heel and left. That night he sent a barrage of texts. Pleas, threats, half apologies. I muted them and sat in the quiet, heart pounding. Amanda called later. "We're in a strong position," she said. "The judge won't like his evasiveness. We'll push for full disclosure and a restraining order if he keeps harassing you." Relief mixed with sadness. This wasn't the life I'd imagined when we exchanged vows. But strength sometimes looks like letting go and standing firm. In the days that followed, I focused on Lily, on work, on rebuilding small joys. Early morning runs, a pottery class I'd abandoned years ago, dinners with friends who made me laugh until my ribs ached. Each step forward felt like reclaiming ground Eric had quietly eroded. One evening, as I cleaned a closet, I found an old photo of us at the lake house, sunset behind us, arms around each other. I studied our smiles, the easy trust. I slipped the photo into a box labeled past and closed the lid. The next court date was set for mid-month, but life didn't pause while I waited. Each morning I felt the tension of two worlds. The normal routine of school drop-offs and work emails, and the undercurrent of a legal chess match with a man I once trusted with everything. A visit to the lake house. One crisp Saturday, I drove to the lake house alone. The road curved through flaming autumn trees, their leaves a riot of orange and gold. I hadn't been there since the separation, and the key felt strange in my hand. Inside, the air smelled of cedar and memories. I walked from room to room. Our old bedroom, Lily's corner filled with forgotten toys, the porch where Eric and I had shared countless late-night talks. Grief came in waves, but so did resolve. This place wasn't just real estate. It was part of my history, a piece of my grandparents' legacy. I took photos of every room for the record and locked up with a silent promise. He won't take this from us. Messages from the shadows. The following Monday, a new number lit up my phone. "Stop digging or you'll regret it." Just those words. No name. I screenshotted it and forwarded it to Amanda. Her reply was instant. "Keep every message. We'll present it to the judge if needed. Don't respond." I tried to shake off the chill, but that night I double-checked the locks and left a light burning in the hallway. An unexpected ally. A few days later, while grabbing coffee near my office, I heard a hesitant voice behind me. "Clara." I turned to see Jordan, one of Eric's former co-workers. He looked uncomfortable but determined. "I heard what's happening. I thought you should know something." We sat at a corner table, steam rising from paper cups. Jordan leaned in. "Eric's been siphoning company funds into that same LLC. People are suspicious, but no one wants to cross him. I can't prove it yet, but check the LLC's business account. It's bigger than you think." I thanked him, heart racing. If true, Eric's secret wasn't just about hiding assets from me. It bordered on corporate fraud. The accountant's discovery. That evening I called a forensic accountant recommended by Amanda. Her name was Priya, and she had the calm confidence of someone who sees through financial smoke and mirrors for a living. "Send me everything," she said. "If money moved, I'll find the trail." Within days, Priya uncovered a pattern. Regular transfers from a business expense account to the same mysterious LLC, disguised as consulting fees. It wasn't definitive proof of embezzlement, but it was damning. Amanda's voice hardened when I relayed the findings. "This changes the stakes. If we present this, his company could investigate. He'll fight harder, but we have leverage." Confrontation. That weekend, Eric unexpectedly showed up at my apartment building. Through the intercom, his voice was sharp. "Let me in. We need to talk." Against my better judgment, I met him in the lobby with a neighbor standing nearby. He looked strained, dark circles under his eyes. "You're digging into things you don't understand," he said. "I understand perfectly," I replied. You moved the lake house into a shell company. And I know about the transfers from your firm. His face paled. Who told you that? You did. Every time you underestimated me. For a long moment he said nothing. Then softer. You think you can ruin me? You have no idea what's at stake. Then tell me, I said. But he turned and left without another word. Strength in the quiet. After he disappeared into the night, I stayed in the lobby until my neighbor assured me Eric's car had driven away. Back upstairs I sat on the couch, shaking but oddly calm. Fear was there, yes, but so was clarity. Eric's choices were his own. My job was to protect myself and Lily, not to save him from the consequences. I changed the locks the next day and set up extra security cameras, small acts of reclaiming my space. Preparing for the hearing. Over the next week Amanda and Priya assembled a meticulous case. Bank records, text messages, the anonymous threats, and the accountant's findings. We filed for an emergency hearing to freeze the LLC's assets before Eric could shift them again. Amanda explained our strategy. The judge will see the pattern of concealment. If we can freeze the account, we secure the lake house and force a full financial disclosure. I nodded, nerves taut but trust in our plan growing. A glimmer of compassion. Amid the chaos, I kept thinking about the endocrinology clinic. If Eric was quietly exploring his gender identity or managing a private health condition, that was his truth to own. Despite the betrayal, I didn't want that personal aspect weaponized in court. When I mentioned it to Amanda, she agreed. This is about finances and threats, not outing someone. We stay focused. Her professionalism reminded me that revenge doesn't have to mean cruelty. It can simply mean standing in the light when someone else chooses the dark. The night before. The evening before the hearing, I tucked Lily into bed and lingered by her door, listening to the soft rhythm of her breathing. I thought of the life I was building for us. Quiet mornings, laughter-filled dinners, a future where we weren't defined by Eric's choices. I brewed chamomile tea and reviewed my statement one last time. It wasn't about vengeance anymore. It was about truth and the steady kind of justice that doesn't need shouting. As I turned off the lights, I whispered to the empty room. Tomorrow we begin again. The morning of the emergency hearing arrived cold and gray, a fine drizzle streaking the courthouse windows. Amanda met me at the security line, her briefcase neat and her expression calm. Deep breaths, she said. Today is about facts. Let the evidence speak. I followed her into the courtroom, heart thudding. The space smelled of varnished wood and old paper, a place where secrets lost their power. Eric was already there, sitting stiffly beside his attorney. He didn't look at me. The judge listens. When the session began, Amanda laid out the timeline. The deed transfer to the Shell LLC, the suspicious bank activity, the threatening text. She handed the judge neatly tabbed binders. Eric's lawyer tried to frame it as asset protection for business reasons, but the judge's brow furrowed as Amanda presented Priya's financial analysis. Mr. Lang, the judge said finally, why did you fail to disclose this company in your financial statement? Eric cleared his throat. It's a side venture. I didn't think it was relevant. The judge's voice hardened. It is relevant when marital property is involved. I am freezing all LLC accounts pending full disclosure. The gavel's sharp crack felt like the first real exhale I'd taken in months. Outside the court, Eric brushed past me in the hallway, his face pale. You think you've won? He hissed. This isn't a game, Eric, I said quietly. It's the truth catching up. Amanda stepped between us. That's enough. He turned and stalked away, his lawyer scrambling to keep up. Aftermath of the hearing. Over lunch with Amanda and Priya, I felt a cautious relief. The freeze protects the lake house and any hidden funds, Priya explained. He can't move money without court approval. Amanda nodded. Next step is full discovery. If his company investigates those transfers, that's on him. I sipped my coffee, letting the reality settle. For the first time I sensed the finish line, still distant but visible. A letter from Jordan. That evening I found an envelope tucked under my apartment door. Inside was a handwritten note from Jordan, Eric's former coworker. Clara, I'm willing to testify if it comes to it. I can confirm he used company resources for personal gain. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Jordan. I blinked back sudden tears. An unexpected ally can feel like a lifeline. I sent him a grateful reply and forwarded a photo of the note to Amanda. Very helpful, she texted back. This strengthens our leverage. Mr. Lang, the judge said finally. Why did you fail to disclose this company in your financial statement? Eric cleared his throat. It's a side venture. I didn't think it was relevant. The judge's voice hardened. It is relevant when marital property is involved. I am freezing all LLC accounts pending full disclosure. The gavel's sharp crack felt like the first real exhale I'd taken in months. Outside the court, Eric brushed past me in the hallway, his face pale. You think you've won? He hissed. This isn't a game, Eric, I said quietly. It's the truth catching up. Amanda stepped between us. That's enough. He turned and stalked away, his lawyer scrambling to keep up. Aftermath of the hearing. Over lunch with Amanda and Priya, I felt a cautious relief. The freeze protects the lake house and any hidden funds, Priya explained. He can't move money without court approval. Amanda nodded. Next step is full discovery. If his company investigates those transfers, that's on him. I sipped my coffee, letting the reality settle. For the first time I sensed the finish line still distant but visible. A letter from Jordan. That evening I found an envelope tucked under my apartment door. Inside was a handwritten note from Jordan, Eric's former coworker. Clara, I'm willing to testify if it comes to it. I can confirm he used company resources for personal gain. I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Jordan. I blinked back sudden tears. An unexpected ally can feel like a lifeline. I sent him a grateful reply and forwarded a photo of the note to Amanda. Very helpful, she texted back. This strengthens our leverage. Co-parenting tensions. Through all of this, Lily remained my steady center. I kept our routines: gentle school, art projects, bedtime stories. But she sensed the tension. One night she asked, "Why is Dad so angry?" I sat on the edge of her bed, choosing my words with care. Sometimes adults make mistakes, I said. Dad and I are figuring out how to be fair. It's not your fault and we both love you. She nodded, small shoulders relaxing a little. Her trust reminded me why I couldn't let fear guide me. Eric's next move. 2 days later, Eric requested an urgent meeting. This time through his attorney, not a late-night text. We gathered in a neutral conference room. He looked exhausted. Clara, he began, I want to settle. No more hearings. I'll sign over the lake house and offer a fair split if you drop any claims involving my company. I studied him. This was the man who once promised forever, now bargaining like a cornered CEO. Amanda remained composed. We'll review any written proposal, she said. Eric's eyes met mine. Please, let's stop before everyone gets hurt. I held his gaze. Provide full financial records. Then we'll talk. His jaw tightened, but he nodded. Quiet victories. In the weeks that followed, paperwork arrived, slowly at first, then in a flood. Priya combed through every page, highlighting hidden accounts and unexplained transfers. Each revelation felt less like revenge and more like reclamation of the life I'd been denied. I also found small joys returning. Saturday hikes with Lily, long coffee dates with friends, the soft rhythm of evenings free of tension. My apartment, once a stopgap, began to feel like home. A conversation I didn't expect. One rainy afternoon, Eric called. I need to tell you something, he said, voice subdued. About the clinic. I stayed silent, letting him choose his words. I've been questioning things about myself. I wasn't ready to talk. I'm still not sure. But it wasn't about hiding from you. It was about me. A long pause. I felt an unexpected ache of empathy. You could have trusted me, I said softly. I know. I was scared. Whatever anger remained eased a fraction. Understanding didn't erase betrayal, but it made the story more human. Moving toward closure. Amanda drafted a final settlement based on the court's findings and Priya's analysis. The lake house in my name. A fair division of assets. Eric to cover Lily's education fund. After several tense exchanges, Eric signed. The judge approved the agreement with a firm nod. With these terms, this matter is concluded, she said. It was over. That night I walked along the lake house porch, the same boards that once echoed with arguments and laughter. The water shimmered in the moonlight. For the first time in years, the future felt wide open. I wasn't celebrating Eric's downfall. I was celebrating my own freedom. The quiet, powerful kind that comes from refusing to stay silent. The morning after the judge signed the agreement, I woke to sunlight pouring across the lake house bedroom floor. For a moment I simply listened. The soft lap of water against the dock. A woodpecker somewhere in the pines. It felt like the first deep breath of a new chapter. I made coffee and stepped onto the porch, wrapping my cardigan tight. The air smelled of wet cedar and possibility. No court dates. No lawyers. Just quiet. But endings, I soon learned, rarely arrive as cleanly as a signature. The unfinished business. 3 days later Amanda called. "Don't panic," she said. "But Eric's company has launched an internal audit. Jordan's testimony and our filings triggered it." I felt my stomach dip. "Does that affect us?" "Not legally for the divorce," she replied. "But if corporate fraud is proven, there could be criminal charges. Investigators might reach out. You're not responsible, but be prepared." I thanked her, a familiar tension creeping back. I'd wanted justice, not a scandal, but maybe the two were inseparable. Lily's first weekend here. That Friday Lily arrived for our first weekend at the lake house since everything ended. She bounded through the door, eyes wide. "It's just like I remember." We spent the evening roasting marshmallows, our laughter rising into the dark. Later, as she drifted toward sleep on the couch, she whispered, "It feels safe again." Her words wrapped around me like a blessing. Whatever storms were still brewing, I had given her that sense of safety, and that mattered more than anything. A knock at the door. Saturday morning brought an unexpected visitor. I opened the door to find a woman about my age, raincoat dripping. "Clara? I'm Detective Ruiz, Corporate Crimes Unit. May we talk?" I invited her in, heart pounding. She explained the ongoing investigation. Evidence of funds funneled into Eric's LLC, employees corroborating suspicious transfers. "We understand you've provided documentation during your divorce," she said. "We'd like to request those same records for our case." I handed her a neatly labeled flash drive. "Take what you need." She gave a reassuring nod. "You've been through a lot. We'll keep you informed." When she left, I sank onto the couch, equal parts anxious and relieved. Eric's actions were finally facing full daylight. An unexpected email. That evening an email arrived from Eric. "Clara, I know the investigation is outside your control, but everything is falling apart. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know I never meant to hurt Lily. Please protect her from the gossip when this breaks." For a long moment I stared at the screen. It wasn't an apology for the lies or the threats, but it was the first message that sounded like a human being, not a cornered opponent. I typed a single line in reply. "I will always protect Lily. Take responsibility for your choices." Then I closed the laptop and let silence answer the rest. Finding my own rhythm. Weeks passed. I settled into a new cadence. Morning jogs along the shoreline. Freelance design projects that stretched my creativity. Quiet dinners with friends. I began a small pottery studio in the converted boathouse, shaping clay with steady hands, the wheel humming like a meditation. Sometimes neighbors stopped by to chat, their curiosity gentle but respectful. To them I was simply Clara, the single mom rebuilding a life, not the woman in a headline. The news breaks. One chilly November morning, the local business journal published a short piece. Tech firm CFO under investigation for financial misconduct. They didn't name Eric directly, but anyone familiar with the company would know. Messages flooded my phone. Friends checking in, acquaintances offering support. I kept my responses simple. "Thank you, we're fine." Lily remained blissfully unaware, more concerned with her upcoming school play than adult scandals. I intended to keep it that way. A chance meeting. A month later, while picking up supplies in town, I spotted Eric across the street. He looked thinner, shoulders hunched under a gray coat. For a moment our eyes met. He gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. Not an invitation, not a plea, just acknowledgement. I returned it, a silent truce. We each turned and walked our separate ways. Quiet holidays. The holidays arrived with snow-dusted roofs and cinnamon-scented kitchens. Lily and I decorated the lake house with twinkling lights and baked cookies late into the night. On Christmas morning, as she tore open a gift of watercolor paints, she squealed, "This is the best Christmas ever." I watched her beam and felt something unclench inside me. Happiness, simple and untainted, had found its way back. Reflection by the water. One evening after Lily had gone to bed, I carried a lantern to the dock. The lake lay still under a sky glittering with stars. I thought of the woman I'd been a year ago, tangled in confusion, afraid to speak. And I thought of the woman standing there now, steady and whole. Eric's secrets had once threatened to define me. Instead, they revealed my own strength. I whispered into the night, not as a curse but as a release. I stayed silent once. Never again. The water reflected the moon like a silver coin, and I knew the next chapter of my life would be written on my own terms.